Good afternoon, Holmes Road Church of Christ. Hope you're having a great Wednesday in the Lord and hope to get to see you soon. We seem to be living in a culture today and in a society today where people just seem to wear their emotions on their sleeve, don't they? It seems that a lot of people are very easily offended by a whole lot of things. I even get caught sometimes in a situation where no matter what you do, it seems like you're going to offend someone. If for instance, maybe if you go to a ball game and you stand for the national anthem, you're going to offend one group. But if you sit and don't stand for the national anthem, you're going to offend another group. I mean, you can't please everybody. If you say you've been vaccinated, that seems to upset some people. And if you say you haven't been, that makes another group mad. No matter what you do, it seems like you're making somebody mad in this world today. And everyone seems to get offended by very little things these days. We live in a world where no matter what you do, someone's going to get offended. Everybody, everywhere, every day has opportunity to get offended. And this is nothing new. In fact, Jesus said in Luke chapter 17, verse 1, things that cause people to stumble are bound to come. That phrase bound to come there in the NIV is translated as impossible in some other translations. For instance, the King James translate the verse like this. King James says, it is impossible, but that offenses will come. The Greek word there is amendextos, and it literally means unthinkable. In other words, Luke 17:1, you could translate it this way. It could read this. It is simply unthinkable that you would allow yourself to dream that you could live in a world without offending someone or becoming offended. That's how that verse could read. Now, before we go on, let's talk about the word offense. What is an offense? The word offense there in the Greek is the word scandalon, which we get in our English word scandal. The Greek word scandalon, it's an amazing word picture. Originally, the scandalon was a very small piece of wood that was used to keep the door of an animal trap propped open. You would set the trap, you'd put a piece of food inside the trap to lure the animal inside. And when the animal would come into the trap, he would bump or brush up against the scandalon, that small piece of wood, and bam, the trap door would slam shut and the animal would be caught with no way to escape. The scandalon is used in the New Testament, 1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 8, when Peter's talking about the truth of the gospel. Peter says the truth, the gospel of Jesus Christ, he says it's a stone that causes people to stumble and a rock that makes them fall. In other words, some people are going to accept the good news of Christ, but others are going to hear the gospel of Christ and stumble and trip over it because they don't like it. They're going to get caught in a trap of sin instead of allowing the good news of Christ to set them free. King James translates the verse there in 1 Peter chapter 2 verse 8 as this: a stone of stumbling and a rock of offense, even to them which stumble at the word. So scandalon is that thing, it's about offenses. But back to Luke 17:1, Jesus used that word scandalon there in 17:1 to warn us about events that happen in this life that have the potential to trip us up or to trip others up. And that's offending one another. Sometimes Satan baits us with the little things in this life. He uses other people's actions or other people's words like bait, drawing us into a trap of being offended. We are traveling down this road of life and all of a sudden we bump into an offense and the trap slams down hard and bam, we're trapped in Satan's cage and we're angry and bitter and hurt and offended. We find ourselves in a miserable condition, trapped in Satan's cage of offense, full of negativity. We've all been offended or have offended others at some point in our life. Jesus says in 17:1 that it's inevitable. As long as we live and breathe in this world, we have to combat this nuisance and refuse to allow offense to have a place in our hearts and minds. In order to fight this, though, we have to be aware. First of all, if you are one who is offended by somebody or something they said or did, don't just hibernate. Don't just not tell anybody. Don't just keep it to yourself. Let it be known. In Ephesians 4:26, Paul says, "In your anger, do not sin." Don't let the sun go down on your anger. So we have to let the offense be known. Don't hide it in your heart, or Satan will use it to destroy you and others in the church. So if you have been offended, that's your responsibility. But what if you're the offender? My job as the preacher and the minister of the church, my job is a very public job. Several times a week, I'm speaking publicly to a large group of people. And in so doing, throughout the years, I've maybe said some things or done some things that have offended people. It's never my intention. I don't mean to offend anybody. But many times I have often offended people, and I never even knew I did until I've been informed of it sometime later. I try not to be an offensive person, but as Jesus said, sometimes it's just inevitable. Just being a human being means you're going to offend others at some time in your life. So what do you do if you're the offender? As we said, if you've been offended, your job is to let it be known. But if you're an offender, how do you handle that? Well, first, when I learned that I offend someone, the first thing I do is I try not to be shocked. I mean, we need to understand other people. It's not all about me. People come from different backgrounds. They come from different upbringings. Some people wake up in bad moods. Some people have medical issues or mental health issues, or maybe they've had a bad day at work. There's a whole host of negative things that could have happened in their life that causes whatever their interpretation of what I did or said to be different from what my intentions were. Jesus is letting us know that you have a 100% certainty that someone along the way, someone is going to misunderstand something you did or misinterpret something you said. Therefore, today, hear Jesus' words here in Luke 17:1. Hear Jesus' words, and if you find out that you're the source of an offense, as a Christian, let's do everything in our power to correct the offense. Do everything in your power to bring healing and restoration whenever an offense has occurred. If you discover that you've offended someone, take the mature Christian path and go and ask that person to forgive you. Don't get defensive, for that only makes things worse. Don't say, "I'm sorry, but," that word "but," it just kind of cancels out the "I'm sorry." That only leads to a deeper conflict and hurt. Just learn to say, "I'm sorry," and move on. Satan uses offense to destroy the church. As Christians, offense is inevitable. And we need to do anything and everything we can to bury the offense and to destroy what Satan is trying to do between the Christians. Make it your personal aim and goal today to guard your heart from the scandalon, to guard your heart from offense. Help others overcome what they think you said or did. Sometimes it's more important to help others obtain a place of peace in their heart than it is to prove that you were right. That is the devotional for today, folks. I hope this has challenged you along the road today. I hope if you've been offended by someone, you can let it be known and get it corrected. If you have offended someone, say you're sorry and move on. Do whatever you have to do to bury the hatchet, and let's just move on. That is my challenge for you today, to destroy the scandalon, to destroy Satan's cage and trap of offense. I'll see you soon, Holmes Road. You take care. Bye-bye.